Our name is Ghosts Want Your Dad. That was a typo, but we do want your dad.
Hello, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Rebecca.
Episode 51, Victoria Winters, reminds us that Collinwood is both creepy and deadly. We return to Vicky screaming down the cliff at a body below on the rocks, dressed an awful lot like Bill. Opening credits. Liz is worried about the girls being out on the cliffs. Roger is dismissive and tries to send her to bed again. But she's still convinced that something has happened to Bill.
She's gone to go stare out a window.
And she says he's the most reliable man she's ever known. And Roger is still dismissive to the point of seeming guilty about it.
Yeah, he's shifty as fuck throughout this whole thing.
Liz thinks he should be more concerned. At this point, Carolyn and Vicky enter crying and shouting and talking over each other. Vicky gets out that there is a dead man at the bottom of the cliff, and Carolyn confirms it. They explain to Liz what they saw. Roger demands specific details, and then Liz tries to send Roger to look, but he says it's ridiculous because he's a big baby. He is being a chicken shit and says that they should send Matthew.
And he looks sketchy as hell and just shifty. Like when they're like, we saw a dead body, and he's like, a dead body, looking around like, oh no.
Liz calls creepy new Matthew, and he agrees to go check the cliffs with a flashlight. Liz insists that Vicky and Carolyn must have imagined it, and Roger suggests that it may have been seaweed. Vicky then wonders if it might have been David playing a prank, and Roger admits that, well, that does seem like the sort of thing he would do.
Yeah, he snarks that it might be right up his alley.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Carolyn continues to argue with Roger that they really did see a dead body. They talk about the ladies jumping off the cliff, and Liz tries to send Carolyn and Vicky to bed, but they want to wait for word from Matthew. Carolyn asks to sleep in Vicky's bed. Liz suggests that they have some cocoa, and I thought, this must be great for Liz, like living out her mommy fantasies with her secret daughter and her acknowledged daughter being sisterly.
Yes.
Like, oh, little girls, have some cocoa.
I will say, what a very strange dynamic to give your secret bastard baby up for adoption. I mean, or maybe not bastard. We don't know, and maybe never find out. To give your baby up for adoption, send her to the foundling home, and then hire her as your governess for your nephew. Like, how crazy is that? Like, it's just wild.
Well, I do wonder if the writers at the time intended for Vicky to be Liz's bastard child, or if it was just a mystery that they never addressed in the show. Again, I'm only up to episode 300 something. I haven't watched ahead in weeks. I don't think it's even in the show or one of the movies where it comes out that Vicky is Liz's daughter. I think it's in one of the follow-up audio dramas that came out like decades later.
Yeah, I suppose it could have been one of those things where they were wanting it to be mystery, but even without that knowledge of it coming out,
it's pretty clear.
It seems like it's being
think.
geared that way, and she is maternal toward her, except there is a lot of like switching between being like Miss Winters and then being a little more tender. But yeah, I agree with you that she was having a little like, oh, my girls are frightened. Let's get them some cocoa. It was very sweet.
Vicky is into the idea. She's down for cocoa.
Cocoa, fuck yeah.
Everybody seems to have forgotten that Bill is missing. Everybody's just like, the dead body down at the, who could that be? What a mystery. And nobody's like, hadn't heard from Bill in a couple days. Maybe there's a connection.
I found that weird as well. I mean, they do tend to do that though, where it's like the thing that is the most obvious conclusion everyone conveniently forgets while they're running around.
Usually it's just Vicky. Vicky is the clueless one
Yeah,
that like is overlooking obvious information, but
sure.
now it's everybody. With Vicky and Carolyn in the kitchen with their cocoa, Liz and Roger get back to arguing about Bill, still not making the connection. Liz talks about having tried to get Ned to come back, but he refused.
And Roger's wishing that he could run the business, and Liz is like, "You're gonna run it into the ground if you run the business," and but then does admit that Ned turned the position down.
Matthew knocks at the door. He says he thoroughly searched all around the cliffs and down the path, all the way down by the water, all around the property lines, and there was nothing there. Carolyn thinks, well, maybe it was a ghost then.
Also, Liz seems suspicious of that right away.
And Matthew says, well, it could have been a ghost, and Roger is dismissive. Vicky suggests that, well, maybe it was there, but then washed out to sea, which Roger says is impossible, but Matthew says anything is possible at Collinwood.
Ooh.
Liz sends the girls to bed again and demands to talk more with Roger. Separately, both Carolyn and Liz wonder if Matthew was lying about not finding anything. Now Roger sends Liz to bed. Everybody always sending everybody else to
I
bed.
wish someone would send me to bed. That would be nice.
Well, I'm gonna send you to bed in about an hour when we're done with this.
Okay.
Unless you want to hang out and play Jungle but Winter.
I do want to try your new survival game where it is the Canada instead of the jungle.
Roger downs his drink and then calls Sam to ask if he's heard from Bill. Sam has not. Down in Matthew's little cottage, he's turning off the lights as Liz knocks on the door. He turns the light back on and asks if there is anything wrong, and she's like, "Oh no, is there?"
I
Uh,
was going to say that Liz goes into the house and it is completely dark in there. And I'm like, don't go in. I wouldn't go in that house with that creepy man in the dark. But she does.
well,
And he turns the lights on.
you may have some good instincts there. He repeats his story about not having seen anything. He says he thought maybe he could, when he was at the top of the cliff, maybe see something that looks like a body, but then when he went down to the water, it wasn't there. Matthew is the first person to suggest that this phantom body might be Bill. He said when he was sent out to search, that's what he expected to find. Liz asks him to take her out to the cliffs to look so she can confirm all this. Back in the main house, in the foyer, Vicky and Carolyn are coming back downstairs to go to the cliff and look again to make sure that there really isn't anything there.
They go to see if Roger is willing to come with them.
Carolyn doesn't want to go, and Roger is still in the drawing room. So they ask, and he's reluctant to agree. And then Vicky kind of calls him a pussy.
Yeah, I
She's
like
like,
that. She's like,
well,
what
if
are you
you're
scared of? Yeah.
scared. Out on the cliff, Liz and Matthew look down. Liz thinks that she might see something, but then changes her mind. So she's relieved to be able to tell Carolyn not to worry and that it was just seaweed.
In that moment, I actually thought, and of course we figured out later that I don't think that was the case, but she looked shocked and then looked away. I, for a moment, thought maybe she did see a body down there, and then it was like Matthew was going to take care of it. Like it was somehow coded of like them just sweeping something under the rug together.
Liz is relieved to be able to tell Carolyn not to worry, and Matthew tells her to also tell Carolyn and also Vicky to keep their mouths shut, and it doesn't need to get out that people thought they saw a body at the spooky house. Back in the drawing room, Vicky and Carolyn are still trying to get Roger to join them on their outing, but he's still being a scaredy cat. He also says not to say anything about all of this, at all or specifically to David. She explains to Roger about David scrawling death on her mirror earlier. Carolyn and Roger both end up punking out on going back to the cliffs. For the folks who live in the spooky haunted house, they're pretty big babies about spooky things.
It's true.
So Vicky starts to head out on her own because she is the brave one. But Liz enters and explains that she's just been out there and there really wasn't anything there. So everybody believes Liz. Vicky explains David's creepy behavior from earlier and his psychic prediction that Roger had killed Bill. End credits. Episode 52, Victoria Winters reminds us that she came to creepy Collinwood for answers about her mysterious past. But this current drama is way more interesting, so let's talk about that instead.
Yeah.
So Carolyn knocks on Vicky's door. She's still scared from the body finding. Vicky asks her if it's always been this spooky at Collinwood, and Carolyn says no, and she starts to say, not till you got here, but then catches herself and is like, not till Burke came back.
And Vicky's like, well, I came on the same day on the same train.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Carolyn asks her if she really hadn't met Burke previously, which Vicky confirms. Carolyn says that she still thinks they found a dead body, no matter what anybody else says. Opening credits. Vicky says it did look like that. Carolyn agrees with Vicky's earlier statement that the body could have been washed away. She explains about the tides and how it would be likely that it could have been. Carolyn says Vicky just doesn't want to believe, and Vicky agrees. Now Vicky finally puts it together that maybe it could have been Bill, but Carolyn is reluctant to think so. She says that Bill is the closest thing to a father she's ever known, and if it had been him, she just would have known, would have felt it somehow. Then she jokes about, it's just another dead person to add to our collection of ghosts. Then there's a noise, which she asks Vicky if she heard. Over at the Evanses, Sam is feeling sorry for himself on the couch as Maggie tries to get him to go to bed, because that's mostly what happens on this show, is people telling other people to go to bed.
Yeah.
Also, this scene is the same scene that happens every time we go to the Evanses' house.
It's true. God, I'm so sick of them. Like,
It will change soon. Well, soon being a relative term. Things will get more interesting at the Evans house later.
I see. Well, she's asking what's wrong, and he's worried about Bill Malloy. And she says that he's a big dude and can handle things. And then Sam says there's evil in the atmosphere, and Maggie is cute and dumb and is like, we have a great atmosphere. Vacationers love it here. Like, they come for the fresh air.
But Sam is being real pretentious, and God, I hate him. And
Yes.
he also...
He says some drivel about an evil in the hearts of man or whatever. What do you have?
I don't know or care what Sam said. He pours another drink.
Of course he does. Yeah.
While he's explaining to Maggie that he was supposed to be meeting Bill on the night he disappeared, but Bill never showed up. He also says that he's made it known that the letter he gave Maggie is somehow protecting him from getting offed. She reveals that it is in the safe at the hotel, and it's funny the way they do it, because Sam says something like, I just wanted to make sure that letter was someplace safe. And she's like, it's in the safe.
Yeah.
It's the safest place of all.
Yuck, yuck.
Yeah, it was silly.
It was.
Back in Vicky's room at Collinwood, she and Carolyn are still hearing the mysterious noise. They assume that it's David getting up to some kind of mischief in the night. Vicky starts to leave to investigate, but Carolyn tries to prevent her from leaving the room or even unlocking the door. But when Vicky does it anyway, Carolyn tags along. And as you say, they creep into the hall, but it does turn out David was asleep. So they return to the bedroom. Vicky is wondering what she's going to tell Joe about her missing wristwatch, which I forget if we said this last week, but Carolyn had made a point to say, "Oh, see this watch? This is the watch that Joe gave me for my 16th birthday." So that's why Joe would be interested, in case we didn't say that earlier. But anyway, then Vicky gives an orphan sob story about how
Never having a birthday.
gee, must be nice to have birthdays.
Yeah, she talks about how the foundling home people gave her a birthday, but no one knows what her actual birthday is. And it's super sad because she's a super sad orphan.
I don't
Super
know if
spooky,
I'm
super sad.
going to include that bit because it does come off as kind of insensitive to orphans, but I want to underline I'm not being insensitive to real orphans. I'm being insensitive to this soap opera orphan.
Sure, yeah.
Back at the Evanses, guess what's happening? Maggie is still trying to get Sam to bed, and he's being an impossible jerk.
Sam tells Maggie to go to bed, and she tries to cheer him up, and
Well, first she's trying to get him to go to bed. Then he's trying to
yeah,
get her to go to
everyone's
bed.
trying to get everyone to go to bed.
Sam
Back and
says
forth.
that he suspects that Burke might have done something to Bill. After sending Maggie to bed, and I guess she pretends to go but is still listening,
That's a David move.
he goes to the phone and calls Collinwood. Vicky goes downstairs to answer. The shutters in her bedroom are banging, and Carolyn hurries to close them, rushing behind Vicky because she doesn't want to be left alone.
Sam tries to talk to Vicky, but
No, he doesn't.
Oh.
Vicky answers the phone but doesn't say anything. She just picks it up. And Sam says, "Collins?" But then when Vicky asks who is it, Sam hangs up.
Oh, okay.
Is what happens. And the banging noise recurs. Before we move on, I thought maybe this is just illustrating what one of the bank men was saying earlier about how Collinwood is a financial liability and they don't really have all that much money. In fact, they're kind of in debt. I was thinking, in 1966, the telephone was not all that new, right?
No.
Like, when did it become commonplace for people to have telephones in the home? I'm going to
I
look.
think in the 1940s or early 50s is my best guess.
The internet says after World War II, so late 40s.
Late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah.
Excellent.
These are rich people in a big mansion, but they only have telephones downstairs.
The idea of not having, even in the 1960s, having multiple lines wouldn't have really been a thing.
This is boring, and we've gone on about
We
it too
like
long.
it. We like boring things. We like to learn about the drunk driving laws and the telephones
I
of the
do
time.
like that.
We're history people. Other people listening might be history people. They might like it.
There is a banging noise. Vicky and Carolyn are scared. Vicky goes to investigate and turns on a light to discover, oh, it was just the wind slamming the French windows. However, there is a book on the ground, kind of in the middle of the room. Vicky picks it up and drops it to recreate the noise that they heard, and it is an exact match. Vicky insists that there has to be a logical explanation. Like, maybe a cat wandered in and knocked it down. And Carolyn says, I don't know why it struck me as funny, but Carolyn is adamant that never in my life have I seen a cat in this house.
Yeah, she is like, fuck cats.
I thought it was funny.
It was funny. They go back upstairs, and we, for the first time yet, see a spooky thing happen. The book that they have left on that table opens by itself, and an invisible force sort of sensually slides the bookmark out as we zoom into the name Josette Collins. We have now met one of the widows, and hooray, because finally it is an actual spooky event. Ghosts are real. I was real excited.
I told you it would happen.
I know. I was like, woo,
It's a while yet
here it is.
we actually see one, but then we see another one pretty quickly after that.
Oh, good. Get all the ghosts. I want them. Back at Sam and Maggie's, Maggie is back nagging at her father about calling Roger, and
Well,
I'm so tired of her trying to get him to talk and him being insufferable, and she's prying and he's lying and infinitum, and I'm just done. That is all the notes I had for that, because I was just like exhausted by those two.
well, in a little more detail, like you said, same old song and dance. She's still badgering Sam to tell her what's wrong, and she was listening to his phone call and wants to know why he was calling Roger, and Sam lies and says that, well, Roger just doesn't want me to paint Burke because that will keep him in town for longer.
Yeah, just
And
making up bullshit just to appease her.
Sam mistakenly calls the town Collinport instead of Collinsport,
I didn't catch
which is
that.
funny because Rebecca often calls
Yes.
Collinwood Collinswood. You guys just don't know that because I make her repeat it.
Yes. I do have a hard time struggling with the name.
But later on, Liz does it too.
But yeah,
So
and that I did feel a little vindicated. I was like, ah.
Maggie continues her incessant questioning of Sam, and we pop
God.
back over to Vicky's room
Thank
where
God.
she and Carolyn are preparing for bed.
In very cute nightgowns. They look very adorable.
Carolyn wants to know who called, but Vicky doesn't know. She explains somebody just said Collins and then hung up when she spoke. So Carolyn wonders if it could have been Bill. Vicky says no, and Carolyn agrees that Bill would have asked for Liz and wouldn't have hung up. Vicky hilariously says,
Maybe it was a drunk.
seems like something that a drunk would do.
Yeah. Like,
You
well, that
think they're
tracks.
going to get there for a second, but then you realize, well, no, they don't really know
Yeah.
Sam. Carolyn explains that Bill has a crush on Liz, and that makes it weirder that she hasn't heard from him. Speaking of crushes, Vicky mentions that Burke had stopped in, and Carolyn is immediately like, why the fuck didn't you tell me that? Vicky says, because he didn't come to see you.
He was here to see Roger, and Carolyn
go ahead. You say it.
And Carolyn says, well, as long as he wasn't here just to see you, because Carolyn wants to have all the boys to herself. It was hilarious. I was like,
back over at the Evanses, the same shit is still happening. God, I hate Sam.
It's exhausting. She threatens to read the letter that he wrote that's in the safe, and now he wants it back. And she says she's going to go read it, and he grabs her and shakes her, and she says he's hurting her, and he doesn't let up, and fuck Sam. I just hate him, and I hate it, and I hated that whole interaction.
Then they break apart, and he looks remorseful, but then they always do, don't they?
Yeah, right?
In
Jesus.
credits.
Fuck. That was a little heavy. I'm like, ghosts and murder and mystery are fine, but like
domestic violence.
Yeah, let's not do that. No thanks. I was real grossed out and mad about it. Episode 53, Victoria Winters reminds us that Collinwood and its inhabitants are creepy, particularly David. In the kitchen, David eats his breakfast and Vicky has coffee.
David asks what she was screaming about last night. He tells her that he saw her and Carolyn running back from Widow's Hill, and he thinks she must have seen a
He's
ghost.
like, was someone chasing you?
She says there's no such thing as ghosts, but he insists that there are, and he's seen them. And now so have we. So
Yeah,
we're
and I'm like, yeah,
like,
David's not a little liar after all. He's just a creep.
she suggests that he look in his crystal ball to find out. And again, with my favorite bit that they do with this is David being vindictive with his psychic powers. And so he says, well, I did. And it says, you're a bitch. But he actually says, and the crystal ball says that someone in Collinsport is going to try and kill you. And when you're dead, I'm
I'm
not
not
even
even
coming
coming.
to your funeral.
That was my favorite bit.
You giggled. It was
It
funny.
was good. I love that kid. Like, the more we go with David, I know, oh, he's annoying, he's bad, whatever. I'm kind of like on David's side. I'm like, yeah, like, fuck all these, fuck your rich, mean dad, and not Liz, because we love Liz, but he
I
loves
would fuck his
Liz.
mean rich dad.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe. He loves Liz, and I love Liz. He hates Vicky, and I do like Vicky, but I think he'll come around to Vicky. I have a feeling.
He doesn't particularly like Carolyn, and I
Eh.
like Carolyn.
I think
But
she's amusing, but I think I
I
would
am
hate her in
drawn
person.
to ladies who are sometimes too much.
I am evidence of that.
Anyway, opening credits. Vicky asks David why he doesn't like her. He says it's because she's trying to take his mother's place. She insists that that is not true and further tries to dissuade him from being a creepy little creep. She asks to see a picture of his mom, but he says he doesn't have one because somebody stole it and it was probably Roger. And he does some more of his same, everybody hates me, and my dad would probably beat me if it weren't
But
for Aunt
also, he
Liz.
probably would. Like, Roger sucks as a father. And I mean,
Well, if
as
it
we've
weren't for
discussed,
Liz, he wouldn't beat him because he would just put him in military
yeah,
school and they would probably both be happier for it.
sure.
David's going on, and everybody hates me and nobody believes me. But then Liz enters cheerfully and is like, I believe you, no matter what.
And she's very cheerful this morning, oddly,
I
after the
was,
events of last night. She's like, oh, good morning, everyone. Oh, David, I love you. Okay, I'm going to Matthew's. Ta ta. Like,
yeah, I
she was
wondered
very breezy, and that was odd to me
what
for
that
her
was about.
somewhat clandestine plan to go to Matthew's and discuss what she discusses with him. It was an odd tonal shift.
Well, maybe Joan Bennett was just in a
She's just
particularly good mood that
jazzy
morning.
finger gunning everybody like, woo, good morning, everybody. I had my quaaludes. Wait, not quaaludes. What is the 1960s? The mother's helper. What do we?
Anyway, David asks Liz what the drama was last night since Vicky wouldn't tell him, but she feigns ignorance. Oh, I don't know. I thought I heard something, but I don't really know. Liz leaves, and David asks Vicky if she likes Liz. Vicky says she very much does. He agrees and says that he'd kill anyone that tried to hurt her. And I thought, although there's obviously not a romantic context here, which wouldn't be unprecedented, what with
What with
Carolyn
Roger
and
and Kitten?
Roger, but I thought maybe Liz is a witch, inspiring all of this gallant devotion in every dude that sets eyes on her. And
I
like,
mean,
she's a hot lady, but she's old. And
no,
so
that's actually a really, really insightful insight. That's cool. I would let her bewitch me. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, she's hot,
She's
but
hot.
I don't know if she's that hot. Like
Yeah,
she
no,
might
she's
be up to something.
yeah. I mean, I don't care is what I'm saying. Like, bewitch me, mind, body, and soul, as the feller said.
Joe arrives and David lets him in. Liz has gone off to Matthew's, but Joe says he'll wait, and he asks what David's been seeing in the crystal ball, and David insists that he can see the future. Joe is pissy when he finds out that Burke gave him the crystal ball, like it's somehow Burke's fault that David called him out on not being able to lock down his girlfriend. And Vicky
Yeah,
enters
Joe's
and
real sore about it. You can tell. He's
yeah, Vicky enters and breaks up the argument, sending David upstairs, and she takes Joe into the drawing room, where David immediately follows to eavesdrop just outside the door. Joe reveals that Roger has not been to the office, even though he left very early that morning. Vicky explains about thinking that they had found a body last night. David is listening intently. Joe is upset when he hears about the lost watch, since he had given it to Carolyn. Liz enters.
well, she's careless with his gifts as well as his feelings. So
Yeah. Liz enters and catches David eavesdropping and scolds him, but not that much, and sends him upstairs. She enters the drawing room, surprised to see Joe, but he explains that Bill, for the second day in a row, hasn't shown up at the office. Liz calls the office for Roger, but he isn't there yet. Liz discusses the dead body business with Joe, and then he heads back to the office. When he leaves, Liz calls the sheriff. This time it's someone called George. She is reporting Bill missing. Up in David's room, Vicky is trying to teach him, but he is changing the subject as usual, this time back to the dead body. She gets real pissed that he was eavesdropping and scolds him, but tries to return to schoolwork. But he keeps asking about the body. They do geography questions between body questions. So she's like,
what
what's
about the
the biggest
river? Yeah.
river in the US? He's like, Mississippi. What did the body look like? What time did you find it? Where was it? And she's like, it's cute.
Yeah, it was good times.
Downstairs, Liz is asking George to check the hospitals just in case. A knock at the door produces Joe again. Before leaving, he went out and retrieved Carolyn's watch. Liz makes another phone call trying to reach Roger again, and also directs the receptionist at the office to say, if anyone asks, that Bill is out of town on business. Shit, maybe Liz killed him. In David's room, the geography lesson continues, but segues back into the vanishing
Yeah, they
body.
fight more about rivers and dead men.
David insists that the body was Mr. Malloy. In the drawing room, Matthew tells Liz that Roger had him check the cliffs with him again this morning. And he also tells Liz that she ought to tell Carolyn not to hang out on the cliff and that that's dangerous. And Josette Collins might not have jumped from the cliff like the legend says. Back up in David's room, they're still going back and forth about the body. David repeats that Roger probably killed Bill. Vicky tells him that his crystal ball visions are just his imagination. Vicky says he should watch his mouth and that that kind of talk could put Roger in prison for life,
And
which
David's just like, suits me. Like, he's real pleased at that.
downstairs, Liz thinks that Matthew has been lying, and he pretty easily admits that he was. There was a body, but he just pushed it back out to sea. And he confirms that it was, in fact, Bill Malloy. Liz
She's
is
she's
pissed.
furious and shocked and goes to call the sheriff immediately.
Matthew looks creepy and worried. I mean, he always looks creepy. I don't think he can help but look creepy.
No, that
End credits.
episode 54, Victoria Winters reminds us that it's spooky at Collinwood at night because ghosts see, and we have evidence of it.
Roger finally arrives at his office to a ringing phone. Rather than answer it, he goes back out to yell out the door for someone to answer it before finally doing it himself. It's Burke on the phone. He's worried about Bill and thinks something has definitely happened to him. I have to tell you a thing. I get real mad at the transcript services for correcting my pronunciation because sometimes when I say Burke, it spells it Burke, but when I get too short with it and say Burke, it spells it Berk. And
Burke.
yeah, it's done it to you a few
That's funny.
times, and it makes me mad.
Well, I
But
would see how it
now
made you
I'm
mad.
self-conscious about how I
So you're
say
like,
Burke.
Burke.
So Burke.
Burke. Now it just sounds weird.
Yeah. Well, Burke is worried about Bill and thinks something has definitely happened to him. Burke demands answers. That would be a Berk, I bet.
Yeah.
Roger says maybe he should ask David to look in his crystal ball, which Roger is clearly pissed about. After the call, the phone rings again. I was admittedly looking away for a second. Did Roger hang up on Burke?
Roger hung up on Burke. So,
Okay, so he
yeah.
did to Burke what Sam did to him
Yeah, he's just
earlier,
like, I'm
and
done, and
he
hangs
hangs
up
up
and then
and
doesn't
then,
answer.
yeah, and leaves the phone ringing, opening credits. Over at Collinwood in the drawing room, Liz wants to talk to Matthew before the police arrive. She is pissed and wants to know how he could have done this.
Matthew says that he did it to protect the family, essentially, and to keep more attention away from all of the spooky stories and the mystery and the intrigue, and to protect her, essentially, and her reputation.
Yes, and they're also speculating about, well, how did he die or why was he in the water? And Matthew says it looks like he had drowned.
And been there a while, and it kind of, she's like, how do you know 24 hours? And he's like, it's not pleasant to talk about. So gross, poor old dead Bill was floating up there.
And Matthew says that it was known that Bill couldn't swim, and that's weird because he was a fisherman. But then goes on to say, but also there's a lot of fishermen that can't swim. And I'm like, well, why did you point out it was weird then? Liz says he should have just retrieved the body and called the police. And this is where he says he was only trying to spare the family the gossip and rumors if it got out that a body had been found there. He asks what he should tell the police, and she says,
The
the
truth,
truth.
bro.
Which, I mean, he's not
Yeah.
without precedent for asking, now, what did you want me to say? Because you tell me to lie all the time.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Liz is handling her business, so it makes sense.
Matthew seems to suggest also briefly that Burke might have killed Bill. I don't know what his logic is for that, since
Sure.
Bill was the only ally he had.
Yeah.
So at work, Roger is being a dick to somebody we don't see on
Yeah,
the
he's being real
phone.
saucy and
He's
sassy.
trying to assert himself in Bill's absence, giving us another reason to think that he might have killed him because he was
Yeah.
making him look bad at work.
Right. And so now he's the businessman and doing his business.
And the receptionist buzzes to tell him he has a visitor, and he says that he doesn't want to see him, and also he doesn't want any calls.
And
But
then Burke just barges into his office.
yes, and they have the same talk they had on the phone. Roger asks, well, why don't you go bother Sam about it? And Burke says that he already did, and Roger looks worried. At Collinwood, there's a knock on the door. Enter Sheriff George.
Also,
Farewell, Sheriff Constable Glasses.
yeah, I was sad that Sheriff, that's what I call him, is Sheriff, but it wasn't Sheriff, it was Sheriff George, who is a little more homely and a little less pizzazz. I liked the man and his sandwich problems. So.
Yeah, I found Sheriff Constable Glasses compelling and a little attractive.
Yeah, I would have hit that 100.
I don't think Sheriff George sticks around for very long either. I think the next time there are cops, it's different cops.
Yeah.
But I might be conflating that with this. I don't know. Anyway, R.I.P. Sheriff Constable Glasses. Pour
You
one
were a
out
real
for
one.
Sheriff.
You were a real
Yeah.
one.
George asks Matthew if he knows where Bill is, and Matthew and Liz start to explain. Back in Roger's office, Burke tells Roger to sit down. He has something to say that he'll want to sit for. Burke explains about his visit to Collinwood the previous day, and they argue about Roger's involvement in Bill's disappearance. Burke dramatically throws darts throughout this conversation. They always make use of the dartboard in Roger's
Yeah, I
office.
do
It's
enjoy
fun.
that.
And they yell, and it's loud, and Burke says that Roger must have something on Sam that is preventing him from talking.
Yeah, they're sort of flirt fighting a little bit too. I felt
Well,
like.
I remark on that later on, actually, in
Oh,
the
okay.
next scene, but before that, back at Collinwood in the drawing room, George is leading Matthew through his discovery of and disposal of Bill's body. The sheriff thinks that Bill couldn't have drowned at Collinwood for tide reasons that I didn't understand, but
Sure.
Matthew wants to know if he's being arrested, but George says no, not at the moment. He can't think of any reason to, but he has to find the body and do an autopsy, and then they'll talk about that. Back in the office, Burke and Roger are still doing the same thing more. Roger suggests that maybe Bill is in hiding somewhere. They yell some more. It's loud and tiresome. The sexual tension is thick, but it always is between these two.
Yeah, which is admittedly hot, but odd.
Back at Collinwood, the review of the events is still happening. George is
Yep.
trying to establish a timeline. Matthew says he stood over the body trying to decide what to do with it for about 20 minutes. George wants to know all this precisely for calculations of tides and to try and find out where the body might be. So he instructs Matthew to go show a deputy exactly where it was he put the body in the water. Liz asks, well, what if you don't find the body? He lets on that Matthew might be on the hook for the murder. There is a mysterious voice whispering in the background. It's either a
Yeah.
ghost or a crew member. I thought it sounded like someone saying, over here. And Liz was standing with her back to George, and then
And
she
then
turns around.
I'm
So
pretty sure that it had to have just been like a crew member
telling Liz
telling
to
Liz
look
to
at the
look at the
person she's
camera. Yeah.
talking to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was stage direction that just got left in, which I think is delightful. But I also at first thought it was a ghost.
Well, this is right after we've learned that ghosts are real
Yeah,
in
so
this
we're like, is it a
universe. And
ghost?
yeah, so, and maybe it
Maybe it was a
was.
ghost. It was a ghost of a crew member.
In the office, Burke and Roger continue arguing, and the phone rings. It is Liz, but she only tells Roger to come home immediately, drop whatever he's doing. Burke and Roger threaten each other a little more, and then as Roger has exited, Burke dramatically throws a last dart and hits the bullseye.
Yeah.
Back over at Collinwood, Liz can't think of anyone who would have wanted to hurt Bill,
Which
and
is just ridiculous. Like, I surely she should know that Roger wanted to hurt Bill. Oh, yeah, I guess she wouldn't tell the sheriff that though.
well, yeah, talking to the cops,
Yeah,
she
like, oh,
wouldn't.
I have no idea who'd want to hurt Bill.
But George's answer is funny because he's like, well, to be fair, you don't get out that much, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't really know, would you? So,
Yeah.
Roger enters to find the sheriff and makes a real scared face as the score intensifies. End credits. Episode 55, Victoria Winters, reminds us that Collinwood is haunted and creepy. Also, the cops are there. Roger is trying to play it cool unsuccessfully, and obviously acting casual.
Yes, it's just like,
The sheriff explains that they don't know where the body is, but Liz confirms that Bill is dead, and she explains the whole ordeal. The sheriff leads them both into the drawing room for questioning and closes the doors to cue the opening credits. Roger wants to know who else knows about this, and Liz tells him only them and the sheriff and Matthew.
this is where Liz accidentally calls it Collinswood, like I do all the time.
Yes, so I will be less harsh on you in the future. I will
Thanks.
still make you repeat it and edit out the mistake, but I won't be as mad.
Well, I appreciate your grace.
Thank you. At the restaurant, Sam enters and he's glum, but Maggie is cheerful. More about that in a minute, which I found heartbreaking. But Sam's hands are shaking as he lights a cigarette, and Maggie offers coffee and accuses him jokingly of being hungover, but less hangover, more the DTs.
Yeah.
Sam wants to know if Burke or Roger have been into the restaurant this morning. They have not. Sam says he's going to call Roger, but Maggie is confused as to why. He's not making sense and is unable to keep track of his lies. So he's said, like, well, I talked to Burke this morning and he canceled the portrait sitting, but then 10 seconds later, he says, well, I haven't been able to talk to Burke. And
Yeah, and she
I
calls him
better
on it.
call
Like,
Roger and tell him I didn't talk to Burke. And she's like, well, you said you talked to him this morning. And then he's like, sorry, I just.
yeah.
So he is just lying and lying and lying. And Sam references Bill in the past tense again, something to the tune of, like, I always liked Bill. Or
And
like,
Maggie's like, why are you talking about him like he's dead, motherfucker?
yeah. Back in the drawing room at Collinwood, Roger is pissed that Liz didn't call him as soon as she found out about Bill. He's further upset when the sheriff mentions the possibility of an autopsy,
Yeah,
which starts to make him look even guiltier again.
sure.
Back at the restaurant, Maggie is over at the counter pouring some coffee and
Yeah.
is glum and looks real fucking sad because of her loser abusive dad. But as she returns to him with the coffee, she pastes on her biggest fake smile and gets real cheery again.
Yeah, I
And I almost
yeah,
cried.
no, it was emotional. I want to go save Maggie from the small town of Collinwood and
Well, some worse shit gonna happen to Maggie.
oh, Maggie. For somebody, I just hated her wig. Now I love her, but
Well, she does get a boon that might make her suffering worth it, but
well,
uh,
I'm glad
it's a
that
rough
something good happens, but
it's a
I'm
rough
sad.
road ahead for Maggie, so buckle
Oh, I'll buckle up for
in.
that.
Sam is also there because he wants that letter back, and Maggie asks who might want to harm him, but he won't tell. Where have we heard all this before?
Oh, goodness, the round and round.
He tells her to go get the letter, but she refuses,
Good for Maggie.
and he's a dick about it.
Yeah.
Back at Collinwood, Sheriff George is leading Roger through the timeline of the last time that Roger saw Bill. This is all the clock stuff from last week,
Yes.
why we all needed to know at what time exactly everything was happening. So they exhaustively go over the timeline. George asks if anyone at the plant can verify Roger's whereabouts, and Roger says that Burke and Sam were there, but then when Liz and the sheriff point out, well, that's fucking weird since they don't work there and would have no
Yeah.
business at a business meeting with Bill.
Yeah. And you
And
can tell he's just pinned in and knows he has to say that because Burke and Sam would, corroborate that.
well, and more on that in a minute, but
Sure.
Roger is just like, I don't know why they were there. They just said Bill told them to be there, but we didn't talk about why. And
Yeah, it's
so the
bullshit.
sheriff does not buy this. He does surmise that all of this means that Bill would have died between 10:30 and 11, which will come up a lot. Liz says, well, couldn't he have just skipped the meeting and gone somewhere else? So it could have been later than that, really any time after 10:30 until the body was found.
Yeah.
Sheriff George brings up the possibility of suicide, which Roger is like, yeah, yeah, that's the ticket. That was
Suicide. I
it.
mean, that he was looking real sad when I saw him. I
Yeah.
mean, he didn't say that, but
Roger says that it must be Liz's fault because she was trying to bring Ned Calder back, which I thought was shitty. Yeah, make Liz feel bad about
yeah,
this. With Roger, of course, knowing that Bill is sweet on her,
yeah.
and also that Ned had proposed, and so
So yeah, no, it
that was
was.
just fucked up.
I mean, Roger's fucked up. He is a selfish prick.
Anyway, Liz doesn't buy the suicide angle, and even though he brought it up in the first place, George agrees. I miss Sheriff Constable Glasses.
I do too. Sheriff was great.
In the restaurant, Sam takes a turn eavesdropping on Maggie while she takes a room service order from Burke. When Sam is too interested about what Burke had to say, she asks if Burke is involved in all this letter business. And she continues asking a million questions, and Sam is just as forthcoming as always. Gee, he sucks.
He's awful.
Back at Collinwood, Sheriff George starts to leave, but at the last minute asks, say, did Bill have a secret drinking problem?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that it was brought up, but he had been seen drinking at the Blue Whale. Sheriff George thinks that maybe he just slipped and fell in the water while he was drunk or something.
Which, I mean, when I watched this the first time, I was like, I bet Sheriff George is right because we did see he was shit
He
faced and
was,
had been
yeah.
at
He'd been
Collinwood, and
drinking.
we don't know where he lives in relation to there.
Sure.
But my assumption the first time I watched was, oh, they're trying to make us think that Roger did it, but I bet he was just drunk and fell in the water.
Yeah.
He mentions he's going to question Burke and Sam. And this is when, like, why wouldn't Roger just say then, oh, by the way, I lied earlier and this is what was really going on?
Yeah.
Because he knows that Sam and Burke are going to do that. And
Yeah.
so this just makes it look worse for him. But he doesn't. And so Sheriff George leaves. And Liz immediately asks Roger how much of what he had said to the cops was true. And he's pissed, but also can't deny that he lies all the time. So
Sure.
he goes to get a drink, as she calls him on his many lies. He says he didn't tell the truth about the meeting to spare her nerves. He didn't want her to be worried. And they argue. Liz brings up Bill trying to prove Burke's innocence, and Roger says he just has to believe her that that isn't true, which is, again, what liars always say. Oh, you've got to believe me. Do you believe me?
Yeah,
Not
it's
anymore,
true.
now that you've asked. Let's
Right?
see. But she grudgingly repeats that, like, yeah, I guess I have to believe you, which indicates that she doesn't, but she'll go along with it because family or whatever.
Sure, there does seem to be a code there. Back at the restaurant, Sheriff George comes in for a donut, and I preferred my sandwich sheriff to a regular old donut cop. But anyway, he's casually visiting with Sam, and Maggie answers the payphone.
It's for George. Sam starts to leave to get away from the cop, but George comes out of the phone booth announcing that it was the Coast Guard, calling to say they'd found Bill Malloy. And he's dead in credits.
He was dead. Bill died.
Yeah, we know. We've been talking about it for 10
Yep.
episodes.
The shocker.
Well, no, not 10 episodes.
Yeah, just about.
He died in episode 50
Yeah.
and
So 5
this was
episodes.
55. So, yeah. But rest assured that we will be talking about it for like 20 more.
Yep.
We've got to wait for a week for the autopsy results and then wait for a week for something else. So
Yeah.
I hope you're real interested in the mystery of how Bill died because we're going to be on that for a while.
I think it had something to do with Burke's pen. Am I right? Am I
You
wrong?
are, but you aren't.
Dun, dun, dun. Follow us on Instagram at Ghosts Want You Dead. If you have comments or praise, please leave a review on whatever platform you listen on. If you have shit to talk, do that on Instagram DMs. Let us know.
We're open to it, just don't do it public facing in our reviews.
Yeah.
We want people to like
If you're
us.
like, God, this podcast is boring, please just tell us in a DM.
And if you pay us $5, we'll make a video crying while we read your hate comments.
Yes. I'll sob.
Oh, for the Thanksgiving holiday, we won't take a week off. We'll have one for you next week
Yep.
as well. So, also for the Christmas holidays, we're not taking any breaks.
Nope.
I've made a Google Calendar and we cannot deviate from it. I know exactly when we are going to get to the most annoying ghost, and I know exactly when we're going to get to the hot vampire. And it must happen on those days. So,
We will stick to your very rigid schedule.
no
Come rain
weeks
nor
off.
sleet nor snow, we're gonna bring you spooky, silly podcast time.
Yes. Okay, we're done.
Okay, bye.